The Hub is brought to you by Docomo Pacific Business and Leo Palace Resort, Guam.
Decision 2024 half a day. I'm Nick Delgado. Welcome to a new episode of The Hub. And who better to kick things off this episode than with the Guam Election Commission's Executive Director, Maria Pangilinan. Half a day, Maria.
Half a day, Nick Delgado. Sidus Masi for having me.
Of course, first time we get to connect after the primary election on August 3rd. How was that for you?
It went pretty smoothly as far as the operations go. For mayoral, for the midterms where the mayors are running, operationally, it's a little bit more hectic than a gubernatorial race because of the number of candidates and and how we prepare the ballot.
Hectic also in the sense of the number of voters and how that impacted the specific races.
Yes. So it was one of our lowest voter turnout, unfortunately. So we hope to get we're gearing up to get more voters to come out for the general.
But last time, I think in the last week, we spoke a little bit about how we were able to push or come to an agreement to push those mayoral candidates who didn't get the threshold number of votes.
So what happened, Nick, is that initially, in interpreting the law, the Guam Election Commission put the threshold at a higher level where we compared the number of total ballots counted for the total primary election, multiply that times 4%, and compare that number with the number of signatures required. And so that was a higher number than if we use the district level numbers, the counts for the total primary. And so when we issued out a notice that says we're using the total primary numbers. We received some letters from in total 4 of the mayoral candidates. So when we received that, we needed to go back and make sure that what we decided was consistent with what has been done in the past. So we went all the way back to 2000. Sure enough, the Guam Election Commission was faced with the same issue back in the 2000 primary election.
With the mayoral candidates?
With the mayoral candidates.
Okay.
And in 2000, after the 2000 primary, in the minutes of a public meeting of October 12, I think it's October 12, 2000, we saw that in the official minutes, they used the district numbers instead of the overall primary. So hence, as soon as we found that out, and as soon as we found that out, we reached out to the mayors that we had contacted earlier, and we let them know that they will be on the primary election ballot. That will, that will be mentioned tonight. That will be mentioned in the Guam Election Commission meeting, and we will have one on Friday as well, a Guam Election Commission meeting.
Yeah, I know next order of business for the commission is to certify and make those results official from the August 3rd primary, correct?
Yes. So before we do that, we need to make sure we receive all the off-island ballots. The last day to receive them is tomorrow, Friday, August 16th at 5 o'clock. Hence, the meeting will reconvene at 5:30. So we will first count the provisional and absentee ballots. We will count those, and the commissioners will tabulate those. After that, when we're satisfied with those counts, the provisional and absentee ballots, we will have to put all the ballots together for the Delegate voting district and do a recount. Because the vice mayoral candidates on the Democratic side, the difference between the highest vote getter and the second vote getter was less than 2%.
Slim.
Yes, and by law, recount is required.
Okay.
So we'll do all that tomorrow night, and so after that, hopefully they can certify the election.
I want to talk about the absentee ballots and those ballots that now you guys will add to the count. Any potential shakeup that might cause?
the difference between the two vice mayor candidates, it just may affect that, but I'm not so sure. Like I said, we're still waiting. Some are coming in. Some may come in as late as tomorrow, before 5 o'clock. The other thing to know is that as we go, as we look at them, right? Even the provisional ballots, the provisional ballots, by now we know which ones are going to be counted, but the absentee ballots, we don't know. We don't know how many will finally be counted based on what we receive by tomorrow at 5.
Okay. But no anticipation that will shake up like the Democratic race, or at least the numbers that we had in the senatorial races.
Oh no,
Okay.
no. Just like the early vote turnout, the actual election day turnout, our off-island and homebound voters were much lower than in the past.
Yeah, it's incredible. As much pressure, as much information we try to push out to get people to come out and vote, what's it going to take?
You know, I wish I knew, and
Yeah.
if somebody out there knows, let us know at the Guam Election Commission. Right now, for the general election, as we gear up to bring the voters out for early voting, as well as Election Day, which is Tuesday, November 5th. We know that, we have high number of registered voters, but for those of you who are not registered yet, you can start to register now.
Nice.
So you can get online at gec.guam.gov. And also, if you're going to visit the DMV anytime soon, write on the application for driver's license, for a renewal or for a new one, or a Guam ID, there's a small section right on the same application form for motor voter registration.
Okay.
And that will get you registered with as a registered voter for the general election.
I want to have our voters hear a little bit more from you, Maria, on just what to do in anticipation of the November general election, what they need to do if they do want to make sure that their vote is counted this time around. But we're going to take a quick break and hear from the incumbent in the delegate race, incumbent James Moylan, who spoke with our Mitsuki Hirayama, coming up. Keep it here. You're watching The Hub.
The Hub is brought to you by Docomo Pacific Business and Leo Palace Resort Guam. The Hub is brought to you by Docomo Pacific Business and Leo Palace Resort Guam.
Half a day, I'm Mitsuki Hirayama. Welcome back to The Hub. Joining me today is incumbent delegate Jim Moylan. How are you doing today?
Very good, Mitsuki. It's a pleasure to be home. I'm glad we had the opportunity to talk, and yeah, you're right. Just please call me Jim.
Right, and we're just coming off of the primary election that we had recently with your opponent, Ginger Cruz, coming out on top of the three-way Democratic race for Congress. What is your reaction to this as you reflect on it?
I'm glad people did come out to vote. I want to thank the voters of Guam for taking their time and coming out to vote. But Mitsuki, we also have a general election coming on up. We need a greater percentage of voters to come out. We have all these folks that worked hard to get to their positions, from the senators, did a heck of a job, to mayors, to vice mayors, and everyone is trying their darndest to get out there to encourage the people of Guam why they're the ones for the job, just like I am. But we need the people of Guam to come and vote, and that makes all the effort worth it. So I'm asking the people of Guam, as the general election comes closer, please ensure that you come and vote. Please ensure that you tell your family to come and vote. And please do vote. And if you need trouble, is there a ride issue or anything, I'm sure your candidate will be more than happy to pick you up and take you on over. So I'm very grateful that the people of Guam have elected me on the general election. I got the votes that are important. And now the work has just begun as well. We worked really hard the last year with our efforts to represent Guam strongly. And there's a lot of issues that we had to deal with and continue to deal with. And we did, I think, an excellent job with my team and focusing on what's important and being that voice for the people of Guam. We were able to get over $3.2 billion for the people of Guam in our first year. We have a lot more on our plate. We have a lot more in amendments in the different appropriation bills that are there. that we want to ensure gets done. And that's why I'm asking the people of Guam to please vote their confidence in me once again, so I can come back and talk to you even more. Okay?
Right. And I'm glad you brought up the low voter turnout that we had
Yes.
this year. There were a high percentage of Democrats voting in the primary election versus Republicans. How confident are you that you will come out on top for the general election against Ginger?
I'm as confident as I know the people of Guam in my ability to do the work. I know that as a senator, we worked hard in the 31st, 34th, and the 35th Guam legislature. My experience in the government of Guam is also important. My experience in the military is also important. And as your sitting delegate for Congress right now, again, we have done, bar none, I would think, a lot of these measures that have come across in budgets, it made Guam centric. It made Guam the center of appropriation measures. It made Guam very important. We're able to leverage the importance of Guam with my colleagues to bring more that is what's needed for the people of Guam, for our infrastructure of Guam, for the protection of Guam. I'm confident that I can continue to do that with the relationships that we've built, with the committees that we are on, which I'll be happy to expand on that, and what we have done thus far. If I wasn't confident in that, then, then it should be a different situation, but it's not. We've done great. We're just started as well. There's more that needs to get done, and we've just begun. So I'm confident that I can ask the people of Guam for their vote of confidence once again, and I won't let them down.
Right, and I'm glad you touched on some of your platform for a bit. Can we let's talk about it more about your platform. What sets you apart from your opponent, and why should people cast their vote for you?
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you more about myself than what makes me different than others. So I believe our number one priority is public safety. We have a great deal of concern with the drugs that are in our island. We can see it out on the streets. We can read it in the newspaper. It's a constant situation. I'm a former public safety officer. I worked for the Department of Corrections for over 7 years. I dealt with things I didn't want to see. I handled matters that were important, but it was for the protection of the island, and my number one priority is protection of the island. When we were in Senate office in the 35th and 36th Guam legislature, we fought hard to get the Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency the things they needed, especially something called a secure facility. Right now they lack that. This is where you can get a container that comes off the ships at the commercial port, run it through this beautiful building, almost like you got here at KUM, right? And have that x-rayed and have the goods investigated, looked at, and checked to prevent illegal things coming on into the island. To also add to taxes that are being avoided and not being paid. To look for invasive species as well. But what the Guam Customs needs is a sterile facility. We weren't able to get the funding for that when I was a senator for Guam. When we were able to do that is when we came to Congress. And I can literally tell you, it took an act of Congress to get this done. So we were able to get $2.1 million for the architect and engineering, the sketch, the drawings for this building. And Guam Customs is working on that now.
The Hub is brought to you by Docomo Pacific Business and Leo Palace Resort Guam. The Hub is brought to you by Docomo Pacific Business and Leo Palace Resort Guam.
Of course, we're looking at the public health system as well with the Guam Memorial Hospital. We have a measure and appropriation bill to also address their architect and engineering, what they need to improve our hospital. Something I was hoping to work on when I was a senator, and that experience does matter. Your previous political experience is important. Couldn't get it done, but now we're able to get it done in Congress. Again, looking at the architecture, engineering, what we need to get a hospital completed, and money's necessary to do this study. Same concept that we were successful with the Customs and Quarantine, We're using that once again for the Guam Memorial Hospital. And I've had recently, just last week, a conversation with Governor Leon Guerrero as well. These are important things that we continue to share with the administration, to share with the directors, to share with the mayors too. There's other things we're looking at helping with the hospital as well. To make Guam part of the rural hospital, as a rural hospital. What that does is offer additional grants. And we're working with the administration of Guam Memorial Hospital too, expressing what they need to do. Just this week, there was another meeting with them too. And I'm happy to say they're very pleased with the actions of our our So we're working that, and we continue to do that. And there's other things that are just all in the works. And our success for our office was great. We did 3.2 of 5 billion previous fiscal year. Now we're looking at 3.2 this year. What does that mean? That means job creations, giving people a job opportunity. A lot of folks not working, but they had this opportunity. That means small business development, giving the entrepreneurs an opportunity to start their business. This is a long-term situation. That means a lot of tax money coming into the general fund, which supports the government of Guam, which supports our public safety, our public education, and our public health.
And it sounds like the work is pretty busy and still ongoing in the nation's capital. But how are you preparing for the general election? It's just about 3 months away, right?
Well, I've prepared for several general elections, primaries as well. It was in 2018 when I was elected as a senator for the first time. We pushed it really hard, and we prepared it, and we're keeping up that same pace as we did in 2018. Then the second term as a senator for Guam, we followed that same procedure as well. And we moved up as we succeeded in our measures that we got passed, as we succeeded in showing the people of Guam what we've done, we've moved up in our status as a senator. The first term as Congressman, we followed the same procedure. Of course, now these are federal issues, but understanding what the people of Guam, what we need for the island, based on understanding our agencies, working with our agencies, working with our director, and working with the administrations as well, has helped us keep that relationship going. So when we went to the federal side, we can relay those messages. And when these agencies come to Washington, D.C., which our current governor has come many times, we make sure that's an open door. Directors, many of the directors that come to our office too, we make sure that's an open door as well. But we have important measures that are in appropriations bill that will really affect greatly the health and welfare of the people of Guam. One I just want to mention to you is regarding Uga River and the reservoir. We were able to include in a measure, and we're still needing this to get passed, and that's why it's important we remain to keep this moving forward, an additional $25 million to build another tank for the Uga River reservoir, because the current tank needs to be taken down, needs to be worked upon. Where the funneling of this water comes on in, it has to be updated. So there's so many important things that need to get done for the health and welfare, for water protection too, which we have worked for and have received the money, at least in the appropriations bill. So there's a lot on our plate, there's a lot of work to get done, and there's more to come.
All right, thank you, Delegate. And just to close off, any final comments for our viewers?
I thank you for this opportunity, moving me forward to the general election. What I'm asking our viewers to do is please let the voice be heard loud and clear by increasing and telling your friends and family, go out and vote. Now, I'll be very happy that I'm your next delegate once again, but it's important that we get the greatest amount of people who are eligible to vote to come out and vote. There's a lot of sacrifices that may or may not be important to some folks, but your elected officials are really trying to do what the people of Guam want to get done. And in order for that to be heard, is your vote counts. I'm on the ballot. I'm the Republican candidate. I wish to continue as your candidate. I hope I've proven to you from Senate to congressional, to today, that I can do for the people of Guam, be your one voice in the U.S. House of Representatives and fight for you all the way through until you tell me otherwise. So thank you and God bless, and please go vote.
All right, thank you, Delegate Moylan, and we'll see you in the general election.
We shall. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
The Hub is brought to you by Docomo Pacific Business and Leo Palace Resort Guam. The Hub is brought to you by Docomo Pacific Business and Leo Palace Resort Guam.
Welcome back to the Hub. You just heard from our Mitsuki Hirayama speaking with the incumbent James Moylan, who's seeking re-election for Congress to represent Guam as its delegate. And the week prior, our Tomas Manglona also spoke with Democrat candidate Ginger Cruz. You can find that interview as well on KUAM's YouTube channel and all our social media platforms. Meantime, we're choosing to wrap up the show tonight with Maria Pangilinan. Half a day, Maria.
Half a day again, Nick Delgado.
So I want to give you a scenario. Say, for instance, if I'm interested in voting now in the general election in November, but I didn't make it out to the polls in August, what would make me eligible to do so?
If you voted in the last general election or even in 2020, you will still be eligible to vote even though you did not vote in the primary. So, and it's very easy. Get on our website and you can check if you're still registered to vote. gec.guam.gov.
I think you just put in like your name
And your date of birth.
date of birth.
And that's it.
Pretty simple. I know you guys have new machines this year, so that was able to help with the process and making sure things went quick and smooth. Because we have less candidates now ahead of the November election, early night, are we going to call it?
Nick, you know I never call it.
I love to ask, though.
Our commissioners sometimes call it.
Yeah.
So we finished the primary election about 2:15. We finished the count at about 2:15. For the first time since I've started working at the Guam Election Commission, I got home before sunrise. So that was very, very nice.
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Because even though the final results come in, we wrap up our broadcast with bringing the results. Maria and the rest of the commissioners, they're still meeting. They're still doing what they have to do, right? And then your crew has to break down.
We break down and then we convoy down with the machines and the ballots. So GPD is a major partner with us, and so they convoy with us until we secure both the machines and the ballots.
What about the candidates? I know those candidates that did advance, well, definitely all the senatorial candidates are advancing.
Correct.
This time around. This time around as well, voters, you can cross over
That's
ahead of the
correct.
general. So just a heads up, if that kind of dissuaded you from voting around the primary election, you will get more of an opportunity to pick which candidates you want to lead the island. But what should our candidates who did advance to the general know?
So tomorrow is a big day for them because tomorrow, Friday, August 16th.
On Friday?
Yes.
Wednesday.
Their campaign finance report is due.
Okay.
Okay. And then come the senatorial candidates, we have not set the date for ballot placement yet. So we'll call them individually. We'll make sure we call them, we'll email them to let them know when ballot placement is. So we announce the actual ballot placement drawing after the certification of the primary election.
Okay.
And just remember that there will be two sides to the ballot again because we have our nonpartisan candidates.
Right.
So we can vote, make sure you turn your ballot around, voters, and vote on both sides. And yes, like Nick said, you can cross over between the Democrats and the Republicans.
And that's with the Guam Education Board, and the
Consolidated Commission on Utilities. And then we have a judicial retention question as well.
Okay.
And we have our straw poll, of course, our straw poll for the President of the United States.
Okay. I know during the count as well, I recall people messaging us throughout the night on our live stream. They're asking, what about the write-ins? What about the write-in votes? Or I know sometimes that's pretty minimal.
Yes, but this time we had on the Democrat side over 2,500, I believe, write-ins. So if any of those write-in candidates received 750 votes, they would be able to go on to the general. But the preliminary results say, well, we have to check.
Yeah.
So that will be continued. That will be discussed again with the Guam election commissioners.
And what data is the commission expected to certify the results?
We're looking at Friday, August 16th.
Okay.
Yes, so we hope after the provisional and absentee ballots are counted, after the Dededo recount, we hope to be able to certify.
Man, you guys have your work cut out for you this election, and it's only a midterm.
Yes, yes, yes. Operationally, midterms are harder for us
Okay.
than the gubernatorial race.
Yeah, guys, so if you're watching this, make the Guam Election Commission's mission and their job count as well by coming out to the polls, showing up, or going to the GEC's website, gec.guam.gov, to register, find out everything you need to know there, as well as going to kuam.com to see who are all the candidates on the ballot. We have that as well as all the interviews that will be coming up in the weeks ahead here on the Hub. Maria, thank you so much for your time. We always appreciate speaking with you. Wise mind when it comes to how our election system works here. The sport of Guam, no doubt.
Si Zeus Masi Nick Delgado.
Okay, and keep it here on the Hub every Wednesday where we'll bring you more from the candidates ahead of the November general. Thanks for watching. I'm Nick Delgado. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon.